Good evening, ladies. It's week 10 in the NFL. It's week 10 in the MFL. We have had such a long season so far, and we still have 5 fucking games to figure out who is in the playoffs. Welcome to your weekly show. It's me, Ryan. The players I've bought from Kenny are broken. I don't necessarily want a refund, but I'm not very happy with them. Daniel, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Last week was absolutely awesome for some people.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing great. I disagree. It's not been a long season. The season's flying by me. We're at week 10 already. I just hate getting to the end of the season, hate the off season that's coming.
Maybe it's because I'm in 21 leagues, but it's been a long fucking season. Tuesdays are the worst. So
it must be hard, man, not having a job and just do fantasy football all week.
I mean, I'm working on this.
I don't know how you wake up in the morning. I really don't.
I'm working on this complicated French pastry this weekend, so I have a lot going on in my life right now. So
no trips to Home Depot?
No. I do the baking. Marlia can go to Home Depot. In case you haven't caught on yet, if you're somehow not watching on YouTube, but I don't know where else you would watch this. But Rob Motz is with us, the Kirk Cousin of the MFL, probably the best beard in the league. I don't know that there's much argument at this point. Robert, how are you?
I'm great. I have a beard.
You do. This invite was a long time coming, and I guess Rob can be a lesson for the rest of you. We don't invite people to the show. You invite yourself. You just have to let us know, and if we're available, we get you on.
I was full of myself in that I thought that, like, since I've been in the league since its inception,
original commissioner.
I was the commissioner of the league in the beginning. Before basically I was threatened several times and finally just threw up my hand like, I can't pay enough attention to this. I have other things to do. I was like, but I know somebody who has nothing to do.
Hey, that's me.
who can, like, it just got to the point where, like, listen, I really like doing this, but you guys are making me hate it. So I have a choice. I either have to, like, continue to be the commissioner and not be in the league, like almost have like a Roger Goodell situation.
Yeah.
I can't be Al Davis. I have to either be Al Davis or Roger Goodell. I can't do both. And so I should have wore like the bad aviators.
Bad
but unlike most of our league, my hairline is still intact, so I can't pull off.
Mine is not.
Yeah, you're getting a little Al Davis thing going on.
I'm working on it. As long as it's not Mark. As long as it's not Mark Davis.
Yeah, honestly, I was so full of myself. I thought, I've been around since the inception. These are like my 2 best friends in the world, and of course Terry and Brian and everybody else. But
yeah, and everyone.
My 2 best friends that are on my best friends that are on a podcast about the fantasy football league I'm in. I just assumed that at some point one of you guys would be like, hey, would you like to be on the show? We'd really enjoy having you. But no, that was not Kenny first.
To be fair,
I don't even know Kenny's last name.
We said this multiple times to you. Let us know when you want to be on. I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch episode 1, we literally say, if you want to be on the show, Rob, let us know.
It didn't say Rob, let us know. First of all, I do the same thing that everybody else does. I fast forward into when you talk about my team and then I turn it off.
Perfect. Our average view time is
not everybody does that because Brian knows when we make fun of him, so he watches the whole show.
Right. What we need is you guys need like the little timestamps so that people so that you can just get to it.
Yeah, just your specific game.
I honestly, I thought it was like an addition for like an A-list actor. I thought I was.
You had the part booked
invite
already.
only. I didn't think I had to try out and reach out.
I really think that Rob's feelings are hurt about this. So here's this, Rob. You should come back next week. Be the first guest to get back-to-back weeks.
I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be the case.
All right,
I'm good with it. Are we recording at 10 o'clock again? I said we can figure that out.
I expect the beard to even be better next week.
It will be slightly better.
Although the beard in your picture on the app is by far the best picture of you I've ever seen.
What's that?
I'll have to
on
pay
the
attention.
app, the picture of you.
Oh yeah, that's an aging app.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to look like at 60.
I'd have sex with you.
Who wouldn't? Besides most people I've ever met.
Well, the good news is that we've wasted 5 minutes because we have 0 fucking trades to talk about. I broke the market with the Jonathan Taylor trade. I'm sorry. Kenny was willing to overpay, and apparently nobody else is willing to pay. However, I heard a rumor this week from Rob Motz that there was a trade offer, and I just recently found out it may have been discussed in a driveway, where you two bozos were looking, and I don't know if I have the exact details, but I'm going to throw out what I've heard, at Joe Mixon and Chris Godwin for Aaron Jones and Cortland Sutton pre-Joe Mixon going off for 55 fantasy points. Walk me through, Rob, why you didn't smash accept on that trade regardless. Dan, why you still think it was a good trade. And what happened? Why didn't it go through?
Do you want me to go first?
It's up to you, man. Whatever you want to do. You're the guest. You run the show.
All right. So here's my thought process. For anybody that I talk to about fantasy football on a regular basis, you guys all know that I don't watch football.
Fair.
I watch stats, and Dan watches football. So anytime I get a trade offer from Dan, I'm like, oh crap, there's a very real possibility that he knows something that I don't. And so I always hesitate a little bit. Now, on some level, like Dan and I have traded a lot.
Yeah.
And it's worked out pretty good for both of us. Sometimes better for me, sometimes better for you. But I feel like we've traded Joe Mixon back and forth now like 3 times.
That's a really good point. I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, because I love Joe Mixon. Dan loves Joe Mixon. And so when I made the offer, or when he made the offer, I was like, actually, that's a pretty good offer. And we had kind of toyed around with something similar early on, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you were like, hear me out. What about this deal? And I thought about it. And I was like, okay, well, Bengals offense is good. But like the AJ Dillon factor is, as you can speak to this, Ryan, he's been a total non-issue. It has been the Aaron Jones show. I think of last week, going into last week, I think he was number 8 or 9 running back in the league. Something I pay a lot of attention to is targets and receptions. He's right there at the top. Like Aaron Jones is the type of running back I like to hold on to.
Yeah.
I understand that Green Bay has all kinds of problems, but I'm like, I think that offensive line is going to get healthier. They can't get much worse. And I have it in my head that like Tom Brady's not going to be good next week, every week. You guys may recall like 10 years ago when I did a whole bit on Tom Brady's career is over. And I think he was like 35 at that point. Like, he stinks. It's over. I'm just so wildly wrong about Tom Brady. And I was like, you know what? Because you didn't seem 100% in either. And I was like, let's just see what happens tomorrow. Because honestly, I didn't know if I wanted to do it, if I was going to be like out of the playoff picture or whatever.
Hey, Dan, what happened tomorrow? What happened the next day?
So here's what's the best part about this, Ryan, is that not only would it have meant you would have lost last week had we done this trade, I still would have won. So we both would have been in okay shape. I mean, I would have been very upset.
Yeah.
Because Joe Mixon had a great day. Now I like Aaron Jones. I think it's a pretty fair trade. I think Aaron Jones' schedule the rest of the year is a little
I like Godwin infinitely more than Sutton, and so that's where I was on the smash accept part of this trade. So
I do think Godwin is better than Sutton, but I also know that Godwin is the number 2 on that team. I already have Evans. If I didn't have Evans, I would that would change it for me. But already having Evans, I do believe at some point Russell Wilson is going to wake up from his dream. I also hope that Tom Brady's going to wake up from his and all of our nightmare. Had Rob when I offered that at 11:30 in our driveway, he would have accepted. We would have had that trade done that night. I went as far as to text him on Sunday, like Sunday morning. I was like, Rob, let's just agree to this trade at 110 so you can go ahead and have Godwin for the 425 game to start against Ryan into your lineup.
Which I probably would have done, but I already I had no place. All my players played at 1.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to work this out and try and help you as much as I could to get him to do this trade, and he didn't want to do it. And then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, I'm watching Aaron Jones go out with an ankle. Meanwhile, Joe Mixon is single-handedly beating most of the teams in our league.
I may have thrown up in my mouth had we made that trade like several times.
I would have paid to see it.
4 o'clock, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Week 9 just a little bit before we get into our playoff teams. My first big Week 9 takeaway is Xavier made a joke last week that this show is hurting the league and that we forced Kenny to give up. But I think this show is helping the league because with my expert advice, Taylor decided to put Justin Fields into his lineup. And Taylor sent me a text telling me how I'm just the smartest at fantasy football and he would have never thought to start Justin Fields if I hadn't told him to start Justin Fields, and that I should probably be given credit for at least one of his wins this season and they can just slide it over to my team to help me make the playoffs. He said all these things. This is factual. But Justin Fields, the number one quarterback in fantasy football, honestly, I think it's going on 3 weeks now that he's the number one quarterback. But a big start for Taylor, and he, I believe, ends up with the second highest score in our history, pretty sure. Made a run at JR, wasn't able to catch him. I think it was JR with the 220 or whatever. So yeah, that's my biggest week 9 takeaway. Kenneth Walker, super legit, really helping Phil's team out. And then more importantly, and this one was weird, only 6 teams scored 100 points last week.
Yeah.
You guys got anything for the week?
I feel like it's been the story of the year is low scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, your team's probably averaging 82 points a week and you still have a winning record somehow.
I don't think it's that bad, is it?
I don't know if it's that bad, but it's pretty low.
Let's see here.
While you're
My
doing
team
that, my
is
other
averaging
takeaways,
108 points a week. Thank you.
my other takeaway is that Joe Mixon would have beat Kenny's team by
Yeah.
himself this week, which
We
is
haven't
pretty
se-
awesome. I don't
we
think
haven't
I've
seen
ever
that.
seen that before. So thank you, Kenny. That was awesome to see. You gave me a reason to watch on Monday Night Football just to see if your team could score enough points to get past Joe Mixon, but you didn't.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Rob, anything to add to week 9?
Yeah, just kind of a non-competitive week. The only game that was even really mildly close was Steve and JR, and gosh, nobody could care less.
I was rooting for Horvath, though, for that birthday win.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, everything was just kind of lopsided. It was like one team that did okay, and then another team that I feel like has just become like the low average for what teams are doing in this league. I feel like, if I feel like most weeks, if you score 90 points right now, you have like a 40% chance of winning, where it used to feel like if you weren't in 3 digits at least.
And what's funny is I still have that mindset. Like if I'm not at 100, throw the whole week away at that point. So
yeah, 10 points a player,
Yep.
right? If you score 10 points a player, you're going to be in really good shape. But the scores have been consistently low all year, unless, of course, you're Taylor, who went off.
Well, I was going to say, he's had his fair share of low scores.
He's had a lot of wins where he's only scored 80 to 90 points and squeaked a couple out. Same for me. We've seen it with Terry. I think most of us kind of logjam in the middle there. Yeah. I feel like the only 3 teams that have consistently scored in triple digits are, Terry, Steve, and Kenny. I feel like everybody else has kind of been logjammed right around that 80.
Phil's having
Phil. I'm not Kenny. I'm so sorry. Kenny stinks.
Okay, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, Phil. Phil is the other one that's been consistently scoring.
I say Kenny's had his great weeks, and then he just traded the entire team away the next time. So
yeah. So just a non-competitive week. Good for Taylor. Like we were talking before the show, I looked at his roster and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy can't have any picks until the 8th round. And I was shocked that he still has some picks.
Yeah, I'll say Taylor's in my playoffs. And my big thing for Taylor is he traded away Lamar for those draft picks and then picked up the next Lamar in Justin Fields. And it seems like it's going to shake out really well for him. Dan, let's talk about your 6 playoff teams. Who you got going in this week?
My 6 playoff teams are Taylor, Phil, Steve, Terry, Xavier, and Ryan.
Robert, you want to throw yours out there?
Yeah, so mine are, give me 1 minute.
No problem.
Phil, Terry, Taylor, Steve, Xavier, and I'm going to put in a caveat here. I think me and Greg play last week to go into the playoffs.
Ooh, well, we almost had the exact same teams. I agree with Dan. I have myself in. I have you and Greg as the last two teams not in. So we basically have everything going the exact same way. We're all saying fuck Dan's team. So let's start with Dan. Why do you have yourself missing? What's it going to take for you to get in?
It's going to come down to everything breaking the right way. Whoever gets lucky, that's what it's going to come down to. I think it's going to be a lot. It's going to come down a lot last week. I'll feel a lot better if I can get a win this week or next week against. I have Xavier and Taylor the next 2 weeks. I need to win one of those two games.
Yeah.
If I win one of those two games, I think I'm in good spots. I have two games I think that I should win coming up against Darren and you, and then that would get me to the. If I can squeak out one of these two, those two would get me to the 8 wins.
And so I kind of broke it down the same exact way as you did. I have you as I almost gave you the win in our game, but I'm interested to see how it's all going to shake out. But I have you at you're going to get at least one more win to get you to 6 wins. But then I have you in 4 games that you could win, you could lose. I wouldn't call you a loss by any stretch. But you're one of the only ones who I don't feel like you have enough guaranteed wins. And then Rob, you're kind of in a similar situation. I have you getting to 8 wins, but then there's really only one more win in there that you might be able to steal, might not be able to steal. And I feel like that's kind of what's hurting you. You need Josh Allen, plain and simple, is I think what's hurting you.
I need the best player in the league.
Yeah, you need the best player in the league to be the best player in the league. And you definitely need them to not shut him down for any long period of time. Yeah. Greg's team I love. If Dak turns it on, I agree with you. I think Greg is going to make a hell of a run to end the season. Go ahead.
So I need to clarify something. I think that both you and Dan will score more points than either me or Greg. I just looking at the schedule, I think makes it tough for either of you to get to 8 wins. I think it's too coin flippy, kind of like what you alluded to. Whereas here's my remaining schedule. I have Phil this week. I'm losing.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm losing. Congratulations, Phil. You did it.
We can talk about that because it depends on what lineup his girlfriend sets for him. Oh,
whoa.
Wait, what? Did I just say that his girlfriend sets his lineup? Because he wakes up every Sunday morning, listens to this podcast, and then it tells her, I need you to pick my lineup for me because I don't know who to start. Is that what she told me?
Is that
what she told me this week?
Conspiracy theory, or just like,
or maybe she told me those things. I don't know.
Ooh. Dan is taking this podcast far too personal at this point. If Brian almost ended a friendship over the shit we said about him, Phil might actually murder you.
Now, if he was going to murder me, it'd be for the Go Tigers box that I sent to him at his work at Canton City Schools that he enjoyed thoroughly, and everyone that he works with enjoyed thoroughly.
Yeah,
I don't know. Now you're saying that his lady is setting his fantasy lineup, and I think that's
just what I heard.
That's damn near blasphemy. Rob, talk to me about your schedule.
So I play Phil this week, but here are my last 4 games. I got JR, Brian,
W,
Steve,
Horvath, W,
Greg.
So, and that's essentially where I have you because you're sitting at 5 right now, right? Yeah. Yep. So I have you winning those 3, and then I do have you losing this week as well. So you're right about the Greg matchup because that gets you to the 9 wins. I just have that as a toss-up right now, so I don't know where you're going to be.
Here's Greg's schedule: JR, Brian, Steve, Darren. I'm sorry, Xavier, and then me.
Yep. So you guys are in roughly the same situation.
We're kind of in the same boat, and I just think that your guys' schedule is tougher. I think you'll score more points, but I think you'll just come up a win short.
And let me tell you, that's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah. What kind of playoffs would this be without me or Dan in the playoffs? That's no fun. We don't need that kind of madness. Let's end this segment with who do you guys have getting the bye weeks? Did you announce your teams in order? So is it Terry and Phil for you, Mott's, Taylor and Phil for you, Dan, and then Stevie and Phil for me?
Yeah.
So we just need to acknowledge then that this show has become the most pro Phil show in the history of fantasy football shows.
Go Phil.
Go Phil. Bye week Phil. That's what I'm calling him from now on. My guy, bye week Phil.
Keep it up, Phil's girlfriend.
Her name's Jessie, if you want to refer to her.
Keep it up, Jesse. I'm sure you're a lovely lady.
And great at fantasy football.
And great at fantasy football.
The next time we have an opening.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it keeps going this way, it might be Phil's team that you get to take over for real.
Well, he might be doing time for killing Dan, so we may need her and someone to bring one of her friends over.
Seriously. Oh, my God.
You not feel bad for her. She has to wake up on Sunday mornings listening to her supervisor do a football podcast.
It's all bad. Dan, how did you do last week? I went 6-1. I'm at 43-20 on the season.
5-2, 3 games behind you.
Let's keep it rocking. All right. Let's get into it. Order of importance, as always. I don't think you could get less important than Brian versus Horvath, but they've at least brought back a tradition to the Masson Fantasy League that we haven't seen in many, many, many ages, the toe-to-toe. They are going Pittsburgh Steelers, Najee Harris versus George Pickens. We don't need to spend a ton of time on this. I think Brian wins by 7 points because Najee Harris may not even have a job by the time the game's over. Anybody can jump in.
Go ahead, Dan.
I also think Brian wins with Pickens, but I don't know about this whole Harris not having a job thing.
I'm hearing rumors.
Yeah, I think Brian doubles it up. Nothing gets Brian more fired up than the toe-to-toe matchup. It's like the opposite of what he used to do, where he would put up a really good player.
Yeah, they're going very weird here.
Now it's just like this. It's the pinky toe.
Yeah, you have to curve the foot in to touch the.
Yeah, we're going pinky toe to toe.
I like it.
Like
pinky toe to toe.
Yeah, it's like bound feet. It's not good.
The rest of the matchups are all kind of interesting. We have the weird bottom of the barrel teams, Kenny, Darren, and JR, who just don't really have competitive teams right now, even though they have some wins. So I put Kenny and Taylor here. So Dan, I'll let you get us started on Kenny versus Taylor.
Taylor's going to win, probably put up another 200.
Okay. Rob?
I mean, actually, I take that back. So looking at what Kenny's team did last week to what Taylor's did, we could be looking at the greatest margin of victory.
That's fair.
Well, this week between that game.
Yeah, that just got broken. It was 120.5. I don't have the document up, but it's not much higher than that if I remember correctly. So
I think we need to put the watch up for that.
All right, I'll look it up while you're talking, Rob. So where do you think we stand?
So I think Taylor obviously wins this matchup, but if I was betting a line, I would take Kenny. I think it's closer than it should be. Congratulations, Justin Fields, on having a great week last week. I believe in regression towards the mean, so he might score 5 points this week. And everybody on Kenny's team is capable of catching a touchdown. I mean, he already got 12, 13 points out of Drake London.
The best Drake London week yet. So
yeah, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but closer than the experts think.
Hold on. So you think there's a chance that?
Hold on, I'm going to stop you guys real quick, just while Trey might still be with us. Trey S., first and foremost, thank you for tuning in. I have no idea how you found this show, but we appreciate you. This is a show where we mainly talk about our home league of fantasy football. However, we do take this seriously, and I actually do work for Football Guys. So we're here to have fun with this, but we will answer your question because you joined us. So Jerry Jeudy or Josh Palmer this week, gentlemen?
Palmer all day. Palmer, 10 catches or 10 targets last week for 8 catches? I trust that over Jeudy. You just don't know what you're going to get out of Russell Wilson. Jeudy could have a big game, but I just think Palmer is the safer play.
I'm also in on Josh Palmer with the wide receivers out for Los Angeles again. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both out in this game, and it shouldn't be a very tough game for the Chargers. Give me Josh Palmer here.
Phil's girlfriend, Jessie, it's really sweet of you to be tuned into the show under a pseudonym. there's no possible way that someone decided to just jump into this, but fantastic.
You're not interrupting at all, Trey. We very much appreciate you tuning in, and we've been playing fantasy football for years. Like I said, I'm a writer for Football Guys in a website called Club Fantasy. I do actually do this for a living, but these are two of my best friends in the entire world, and this is about our home league. So feel free to stay tuned in, and if you have other questions, we'll try to answer them. We love shit like this. So,
all are welcome. You aren't the first guy, Trey. This has happened before, so you're absolutely welcome to hang out, watch any other questions. Throw them out there, man. Actually, if you want to join in, make fun of our teams too, go right ahead.
Yeah. easy to
All
do.
right, so I interrupted because I wanted to make sure we get that in. So, Rob, I don't quite know where you were. You were talking about the Taylor Kenny matchup being interesting.
Oh, I just think it's closer than the experts think. That's really it. Taylor should win, but I believe in regression towards the mean. I think Justin Fields could score 5 points.
See, I think it's another huge week for Justin Fields. He's a top 5 quarterback for me this week. I think Taylor hit a home run there. The worst margin of victory in league history is 127.7, done by Taylor last year, actually. I don't know who he was playing. So, yeah, he could take it for himself. I think Taylor just absolutely hit a home run with Justin Fields, as I mentioned. I don't love Kirk Cousins this week for Kenny, so I think this could go very poorly. I don't care how great of a dancer Kirk Cousins is at the end of the game. So I think this is another big one. The only reason I don't think Taylor will break that record is I don't know that Taylor is even going to find the need to start a defense or a kicker this week. I love that, Trey. We've had some interesting things go down with Kyle Pitts in this league. Before the season started, I offered Travis Kelce for Kyle Pitts and got turned down. And so, those managers are just kicking their own asses right now. So we've all made our mistakes with Kyle Pitts.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think Taylor's going to put up 200 points because he's not going to start a lineup against Kenny. Kenny has 3 Denver Broncos going against Tennessee in his starting lineup. So there's no chance that 2 of those guys are catching touchdown passes.
Yeah.
There's no chance Russell Wilson can throw 2 touchdown passes in the same game.
That's fair. This feel as the Kirk Cousins of the MFL. This just kind of feels like one of those weeks where Buffalo jumps all over Minnesota by like 17 points, and you get the classic Kirk Cousins like 35
time,
game, just junk time kind of stuff. But
all right, same exact situation. 6-win Terry taking on 2-win Darren. Rob, I'll let you get us started here.
Oh, Terry all day. Darren's a dumpster fire, and he knows it.
Dan, anything to add?
I mean, I'm going to pick Terry to win the game. I will say that this game, for like Rob's on the last game being close, I think this game could be a little closer. He already got 16 points out of Mariota, which is probably
so that's what I was going to bring.
And Herbert, I just don't think he's been very consistent and looked that good as a fantasy quarterback completely is what we expect. I don't think Terry, at the beginning of the season, if you told him this is what his stats are going to look like, Terry would be happy right now with Herbert. And I don't think he's great as an NFL quarterback either at this point.
Well, so you have Herbert coming back from the injury and then the wide receiver issues. Yeah. Josh Palmer is going to do well, but how well is he going to take them? So I have Terry winning this game as well, but I said exactly what you did, Dan. He lost his quarterback advantage because I don't love Herbert, and Mariota actually played well, but Terry's still so good at every other position. The one thing I'd throw out, it looks like Jeff Wilson Jr. is about to steal that job in Miami. I don't know that I would bench Jamal Williams for Jeff Wilson Jr. I don't think it's going to matter for Terry this week, but I don't know if that's the change I would make there. But we all agree it's Terry in that one as well. And then now things get, well, no, not quite yet. We have Greg versus JR, another dumpster fire, and it doesn't help that all of JR's best players are also off this week. I don't love Gabriel Davis. If it's Case Keenum in the game, I think that's going to be for a huge Stephon Diggs game, but I'm still picking Greg. Does anybody have anything to add? Is anybody not picking Greg?
I'm picking Greg, but I really, really hope he loses.
Same. Sorry, Greg. Is Zeke playing again?
Yes.
Is he? Okay.
I still think Pollard's a hell of a play. Green Bay gives up a ton to the running back. So I'm good either way. I don't love him starting both, and he's not starting both this week. So I think he's still in really good shape. Now we get into the interesting games. And I have Rob versus Phil as the third most interesting game. Rob sitting with 5 wins, Phil sitting with 8. And this is just because, spoiler alert, I think Phil is going to run away with this game. Tyler Algier did absolutely nothing for you on Thursday. And then a banged up Josh Allen takes away your best position. I think Phil wins, and I think Phil wins big. Dan?
I'm going to pick Phil to win as well, but I bet that Josh Allen will actually play.
Ooh.
And that he'll be fine. And he'll keep the game close for Rob. But I do think
as Rob shakes his head no.
Rob has always been an Eeyore for his own team. Before this season started, I trade you Josh Allen. You're like, this is a pick for the future. I have no chance of making the playoffs this year. It's exactly what you said. I said, I actually like what you have. You still have good picks. You have a chance. And after the draft, I'm not playing for next year. I'm not going to be any good this year. Here we are. You're looking at yourself as a playoff team. Right here. You always are down on your team more than anybody else is. Pick your guys up, Rob. They need a good motivational speech.
Josh Allen shouldn't play so that he's healthy for a game I can actually win.
That's fair. That's how I felt about Jonathan Taylor before I traded him away too. Was let him sit. Then it just became too much.
Yeah, I just don't see a scenario unless, and it can happen. Somebody would have to go absolutely bananas. I'd have to have one of those. I'd have to have like a Joe Mixon last week kind of game from somebody, I think, to win. And as I look down my lineup, nope, nobody there that does that. So
yeah, it makes it a little rough. So we're all picking Phil in that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Then I have me versus Stevie. I'm sitting at 6 wins. Stevie sitting at 7. Rob, I'll let you get us started on this one.
So the Kyler Murray question, if Kyler plays, I Cordarrelle Patterson did nothing for you.
Nor did DJ Moore.
Nor did DJ Moore. It puts you really behind the 8 ball. But your 2 best players are better than his best 3. And Chiefs could really run it up against Jacksonville because they can. He threw 68 times last week. So unless Mahomes' arm is too tired, you know what? Then again, Lockett. No, I'll pick Steve.
All right. I know Dan's picking Steve. He's already.
I'm taking Steve. I think Cole Kmet outscores Travis Kelce this week. Just kidding.
I was like, what? He did last week.
If it happens, it'd be awesome. If you lost to him and Cole Kmet outscored Kelce this week,
my ego couldn't take that one. I have said far too many nice things about Cole Kmet this week. I'm catching shit from it on every angle. People are screenshotting my articles and putting them up on Twitter because I was nice to Cole Kmet. It's just not good. So
that's awesome. No, I think Barkley is gonna have a big game. Hopkins has been fire since he came back. I don't know what you're gonna get. I know Watt's healthy and he's going to play, but it's his first game back.
It worries me, and I worry about how much does Pittsburgh need him, and that's my biggest worry here. Is he back? Is he locker room back? Are they using him situationally? So,
it'd be different for me if your 2 guys wouldn't have played already, and we saw how terrible they did.
Yeah.
That really finished it off for me on picking Steve.
The Saquon Barkley thing worries me as well. I picked myself before I started working this little game theory that I'm working, mainly because while Stevie wins running back, wide receiver, I win quarterback, tight end, and I can get a lot of points from those positions. I think TJ Watt is going to make an impact against a bad New Orleans Saints offensive line, and so I think that's what's going to help me. I completely agree that Thursday fucked me, but it would be a shame if Stevie didn't have a quarterback this week. And if everything goes the way I planned on it going, he's either going to have a hurt Kyler Murray or no quarterback to start in our game, which then I win.
Additionally, if you look at the matchups for Steve, if you look at the matchups for Steve, they're not good. Fournette against Seattle.
Yep. In Germany, which those games never go well.
Right. St. Brown, is he even...
Can you get through a full game?
Yeah. If you have no Murray, what does D-Hop do? And now you have Cole Kmet and Lazard with the ghost of Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. He could have a really down week. So you started out bad, but it's there.
I agree, and that's why I picked myself while you 2 picked against me. And then game of the week, I don't think the playoffs are on the line here, but you 2 need this win more than anybody else who happened to be playing each other. It's Dan versus Xavier on the eve of Xavier's wedding, or I guess it's the day after Xavier's wedding. He's getting married tomorrow.
Tonight.
Oh, is it tonight? Did he say Friday?
I thought he said Friday night.
Oh, yep. And then he's traveling all day Saturday. You're right. So Xavier, I hope you've taken a step away from your wedding to watch this show. I'm sure you're going to watch it in the airport tomorrow. Dan, you will go last here. Rob Motz, get us started. Xavier versus Dan Metzger. I'll get us started.
Go ahead, please.
All right. I think Dan's going to need big points out of his defense and IDP. I don't love Tom Brady in Tampa Bay in Germany, and Dan has 3 pieces of that pie. I'm not saying we can't see a big game in Europe. We just haven't seen many big games in Europe, and this is the first game in Germany. So I don't know what that field looks like, because sometimes they have problem with those London fields. So maybe this one will be the exception, not the rule. But I don't know how this is all going to shake out for them. But that's also going to hurt Xavier's DK Metcalf, and I also don't like Terry McLaurin this week. So it kind of balances out where, Dan, I don't love your wide receivers. I don't love his wide receivers. However, you can't beat his running backs. And that's the biggest worry. You desperately needed Joe Mixon this week. His running backs are all firing. I think it's going to be Xavier with his running backs. Now you can go, Rob.
It would help if you had Aaron Jones.
Maybe I will.
It would help if you had Aaron Jones. I think the two things that are going to really separate Xavier this week is Tua against Cleveland and McCaffrey against the Chargers. We already talked about Herbert's injuries. It's going to be a home field advantage for the 49ers playing at SoFi. I think it's just I think he has the two best matchups going in. Dalvin Cook has been meh. Etienne has been better, but that game script's not going to work out for him against Kansas City. Unless they happen to get up early.
Well, I was going to say Kansas City's very bad against running backs, and then they can also throw him the ball, which they haven't done a ton yet, but we've seen like 5 target games out of him. So yeah. I think he's going to be fine.
So, yeah, just on the strength of Tua and McCaffrey, I think he edges you out. Sorry, brother.
All right, Daniel, how do you got it?
Xavier as well. I mean, I think it'll be a close game until about 8:45 Sunday night when McCaffrey scores his first of probably 3 touchdowns that night. Hopefully only 3. Hopefully he doesn't, Karma doesn't come back to get me and he dropped 50 points on me. No, I think the matchups just favor him. I don't love Tampa Bay against Seattle in Germany either, but I don't really have any other option. It's not like quarterbacks are just falling off trees. Otherwise, I'd have a better one by now.
So just to be clear, as I'm reviewing the show notes, the only game we disagree on is you two picking Stevie to beat me. We agree on every other single game this week. So that means the whole week is just going to go ass over tea kettles, topsy-turvy.
And I hope it absolutely does. I hope this week just teams that are supposed to win lose. Let's do it. I like it.
Yep. All right. We went very long. We went very long this show, but we're still going to end it with our game. The game is, can you pick the top quarterback and the top flex player? Last week, nobody picked either the top quarterback nor the top flex player. Xavier did win with 49 points. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce put 49 up. However, the top scorers were Justin Fields and Joe Mixon with a combined 93 fantasy points. So I will go first as I always do. I think it is going to be Jalen Hurts and Dan Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, I hate you. That was my exact 2 guys.
That's exactly what I had.
Oh, okay.
I swear to you.
So, do you guys want to change? Do you want to change it during the show, or are we all agreeing this week?
I'm changing mine.
The joys of hosting is I get to say my picks first. So.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Fields and Barkley.
Ooh.
Okay.
Fields and Barkley. I think Fields is going to keep it going against that Detroit defense. I know Detroit felt pretty good about themselves after killing Aaron Rodgers last week, but those are my 2.
I'm going to go Tyreek and
almost took Tyreek. Hedge your bet. You
can Tyreek and Tua.
Going with the double stack.
Beat up on Cleveland.
All right, Trey, if you're still watching the show, what we do is we play a game every week. If you drop your pick in the comments, I'll make sure we give you some credit next week if you win. The goal is to pick the highest scoring quarterback in our league scoring, and I'm not even going to tell you what it is, so you just have to guess at this point. But the highest scoring quarterback and the highest scoring wide receiver, running back, or tight end, the highest scoring flex play. So give us a pick at quarterback, give us a pick at flex. Everybody else in the league, you know the deal by this point. Drop it in the comments, send me a text, put it on the league message board. We'll get you guys taken care of. Before we jump off, Rob, do you have any parting words for our friends in the Maslin Fantasy League?
I've enjoyed doing this for so long, except how fucking awful I am at it. I am the Kirk Cousins of the MFL. You're not thrilled. I'm never good, but I'm never bad. And Phil, Phil's girlfriend. Feel free to start. I gave you a lot of shout outs. Feel free to just start pulling people out of that lineup. He'll never even know. I could use the help. Please and thank you.
Daniel, you ready to tell everyone you love them?
I do. I love you all. Trey, thanks for joining the show. If you're still there,
Yeah.
Tell everybody about the show. We'd love to have more viewers. Maybe we get some advertising.
We only need about 90 more subscribers.
I'm sure that looking at Rob's beard, we get a nice beard oil company to,
That's true.
Yeah. Right.
My little podcast is getting sponsored by Manscaped starting this month. So
yeah. This could be the face of your beard oil.
I love it. I'll reach out to Manscaped and be like, look, we already have a loyal follower in Trey, who I assume will be back next week. As always, I will end the show with, I kind of like most of you, but this week, fuck you, Stevie. You already are trying to usurp me in last name and handsome, and you're taller. And I just don't give a fuck at this point. I need everything to go wrong for you this week. And I hope they run Kyler Murray right up to 4-24, telling you that he might start. And then they're like, oh, sorry, we're going to go with, I already forget who the kid I just signed
Colt
today
McCoy.
was. Colt fucking McCoy. And then you have no quarterback because I have just fucked you left and right. And Dan is not going to trade you Taylor Heineke.
I'm
not even going to
Trevor
get
Lawrence
all day, Steve. Come on. We used to live together, Steve. We know how this works.
That's right. You've sat on places where each other have had sex. Do not do trades with him.
I made you toast at 5 a.m. when you were drunk. Call me.
And that's our show. It ran long. You guys enjoyed it. Everybody have a great night. See you guys later.